I'm Charity Nebbe. I'm the host of Iowa Life. Thank you all so much for being here, and I'm excited to see the whole documentary. I haven't seen all of Iowa Life either, so I'm excited about that too. But remember, coming up on June 24th, and I'm going to introduce our panel here. We're going to talk about a lot of issues, but I think that just to start off, you know, there's a lot of sorrow in the stories that we've been seeing tonight, but there's also so much beauty, so much love, and so much dignity as well. And, you know, in any conversation about caregiving, there is sadness and there is stress, but there's also so much love as well. So I do want to introduce our guest. Kathy Good is here with me tonight. She is Senior Director with the Chris and Suzy DeWolf Family Innovation Center for Aging and Dementia of Mercy in Cedar Rapids. Hello, Kathy.
Hello, Charity.
Michael Wagler is also here, State Director with the AARP of Iowa. Michael, welcome. And also Jennifer Jones, Program Coordinator of the Optimal Aging Initiative at the Csomay Center for Gerontological Excellence at the University of Iowa College of Nursing. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you.
And all three of your organizations do a lot of things, but you also, all three organizations do offer services for caregivers, and that's obviously what we're focusing on tonight. So Kathy, let me start with you and briefly, although that's hard. Kathy's on the Iowa Life show, so you'll get to hear more from her there too. But briefly, tell me what you see as your role in serving caregivers.
Well, we're very fortunate to have the
And hold the mic nice and close.
To have the DeWolf Innovation Center in Cedar Rapids. And it is a place where we're trying to reduce the stigma and the stereotypes regarding dementia and aging. And it also houses the Mercy Center for Memory Health, where people are assessed if they have some changing memory concerns. And it houses the Family Caregiver Center, which is what we're going to talk about tonight, is family caregiving, and supports family caregivers of adults who are living with chronic conditions, including dementia. And also our Community Connections program that provides direct support for people that are living with dementia. It's kind of a social adult day program that provides engaging activities that then also provide a respite to their caregivers. And we have a age and dementia friendly smart showroom and kiosks that contain products and information and assistive technology to hopefully help people live better and longer in their own homes and age in place. So basically those are the key services that we provide through the DeWolf Innovation Center, but tonight we're really here talking about what happens through our Family Caregiver Center, and I'm sure we'll get into that as we talk.
We will, and I do want to mention, as I said, you're in Cedar Rapids, but a lot of these resources are available to people who live outside of Cedar Rapids.
Absolutely, we have no geographic boundaries, and so many of the services and the supports that we offer, our support groups, our educational sessions are offered via Zoom. So you can live anywhere in Iowa or in the Midwest. In fact, we've had somebody from Tanzania, opt into our men's caregiver coffee. So no geographic boundaries.
And I'm sure, especially in Iowa, where there's, we have a lot of rural parts of the state.
Yes.
And people will still think, oh, I wish that was in my backyard when they hear about all of your programs.
And we hope it was too.
Right,
right. Too. Yeah.
But there are ways to connect, even
Yes.
if you're a long way from Cedar Rapids.
Yes, and we're very willing to talk with caregivers one-on-one so that we can hear their story, help them identify their needs, provide them emotional support, connect them to the resources that we know either within our own organization or certainly then within other places within the state, AARP or the university resources or the area agencies on aging. So
right.
There are resources, but sometimes it's tough to figure out, like, what do you need and how do you get there and how do you do the paperwork.
We're going to dig into that because I do think that's the number one challenge for a lot of caregivers. Michael, I mean, the AARP. We know that you do a whole lot of different things. What is your role with caregivers?
Absolutely. So big picture, I think we're all familiar with AARP in some way, shape, or fashion. And AARP is a voice and an advocate for the 50-plus community here in Iowa and across the country. At AARP Iowa, as a role of a state director, we are really focused on the mission and service-oriented work of AARP. And part of the ways that we do that is to advocate, to be a voice for, to build resources, have outreach events and activities, education, awareness items, all for our members and the 50-plus community across the state. And so some very clear ways we do that is through our online caregiver hub that has everything from direct links to, like Kathy said, it's the no wrong door policy of there are so many ways to gain access to information, and we want to be another one of those hubs. Whether that be through the actual website or through the downloaded guide. AARP nationally has a number of really great resources, both in the AARP and the foundation side, that I know we'll talk a little bit about later.
Absolutely. And I mean, I'm lucky enough to be 50, but do you have to be 50 plus to take advantage of these caregiver resources?
You do not. AARP has a slogan, the younger you are, the more you need AARP. So I am a proud 44-year-old member of AARP. And it's one of those things that AARP is focused on that voice of the 50-plus, but as a family caregiver myself, there are a number of ways that AARP has helped me directly as I care for my parents.
Jennifer, you have the longest title, so I'm going to say it again. Program Coordinator of the Optimal Aging Initiative at the Csomay Center for Gerontological Excellence at the University of Iowa College of Nursing. And again, I know that the Csomay Center does a whole lot of different things, but tell me about your organization's role in caregiving.
Sure. We had a wonderful community individual that I happened to meet on a completely random evening, and we connected, and about 6 months later, she reached out and she said, here's my situation. I'm a 60-year-old daughter. I came back to Iowa to help mom and dad who are older. She's not their spouse. They don't have dementia. And she said, I'm this adult child caregiver. I'm the sandwich generation. And she said, there isn't a caregiver group that she felt really supported her. And she looked at me and she said, I think you should start that. So, we did, and it's been a year. But in that role of hosting and organizing this adult child caregiver group through the Csomay Center, what we do is connect people. We connect resources to older adults. We connect resources to other resources. I have the privilege of being able to say to our adult child caregivers, do you know about Kathy's group at the DeWolf Center? Do you know what AARP has to offer? That's where we at the Csomay Center really, I think, we're so similar yet so different in all of the opportunities that we can provide for people and the resources we can do. But it's leading people to those resources. It's providing the education that some of our caregivers are so desperate for, and oftentimes it's truly offering the starting point, because so many people come to us and say, I just don't know where to start.
Yeah, you start by being sort of thrust into the situation where somebody is really dependent on you. And before we dive into talking about resources, all four of us either are or have been caregivers. My mother has Alzheimer's. My dad is her full-time caregiver, but my dad is also 80 years old. And so I'm his support person and I'm his respite. And, so I am also a caregiver. Caregiving takes a lot of different forms. And Jennifer, I'll let you go first. You are also a caregiver. Can you just briefly tell us your story?
Sure. My mom had her first stroke at 67. That was 11 years ago. Actually, 11 years ago this month. And, it's not something you expect from someone who is perfectly healthy or seems perfectly healthy. And so, also, very rural. Our home health care, when mom was able to come back home health care was driving an hour and a half each way. And so I watched for 7 years as my dad, really truly served as my mom's primary caregiver. The toll that it took on their relationship, the toll that it does impact the entire family, and I was the child living the closest, so I was kind of in and out of things on a pretty regular basis. And 4 years ago, she had a series of 3 more strokes. And this time she went into a nursing home. And so there's been this really strange pivot where, you know, Dad is still that primary caregiver for Mom, handling her affairs, but now I'm the primary caregiver for my dad, who's also, you know, he's going to be 79. And it's an interesting situation to find yourself where, yes, you're caregiving, where you're providing, I think, advice and guidance sometimes to your parents or to that older person in your life, and also trying really hard, and I know they talked about this in the documentaries we just watched, maintaining that identity of being a daughter. And some days it's really difficult to figure out which person I am. And so for all of you who are going through that, I have empathy for you and with you.
And Michael, you already gave us a little bit of a glimpse, but tell us about your role as a caregiver.
Yeah, so about 5 to 6 years ago, my mom was diagnosed with dementia, and my dad followed suit a couple years later. So my sister and I are co-caregivers for my parents that have had a very quickly advancing dementia journey over the course of the last 5 years. And it's one of those realities that was said in the videos, and I know all of us could relate to, is it's not something that you expect. It's not something that happens overnight. And for me, it felt like an incremental journey before I even self-identified as a caregiver. And I thought that was so powerful when the young man on the video said, you know, he identified as a 14-year-old caregiver for his mom at the time. But for us, our journey was incrementally taking on roles as my parents were not able to take them on, eventually working through the power of attorney process, you know, everything as big as working on what it means for an adult to lose their ability to drive, to just basic things like banking and getting bills paid and some of those pieces. So I am another one of those proud members of the sandwich generation. My kids are in the back, as happens with parenting, but it's that reality that you're trying to balance what it means to be caregivers at different times of the day for different times of life. So,
and those of us who are living it definitely know what the sandwich generation is. What it means for those who may not know is that you are caregiving for your parents. You are still caring for your children at the same time, and there are a lot of people who are in that position. Kathy, you have a different story. Tell us a little bit about your caregiving journey.
I do have a different story because I became a spousal caregiver back in 2003 when Dave, my husband, was diagnosed with the visual variant of Alzheimer's at age 56. So it was early onset, and so it was obviously, I think it was June 23rd. You don't forget those dates. And so totally life-changing when he became a person living with dementia and I became his care partner. And some people say, what's the difference between a care partner and a caregiver? And this is the way that I define that, in that I think that in the beginning I was a care partner because Dave was still able to join with me in all kinds of decision making, but as his condition progressed, I became more and more a caregiver because more and more of the responsibility for living life for both of us fell to me, which is also part of the demand. And so it's life-changing, and you get kind of dropped in, you know. Sometimes you know kind of ahead of time that there's something wrong, but when you actually get the diagnosis, it's like, whoa, now we know for sure, and that is a
and you know where
life-changing
you're
day.
headed as
Yes,
well.
yes, exactly.
Yeah, which is something that we heard reflected in these conversations.
Yeah.
You know, we're in this until the end. This is
Yes.
the journey until the end of someone's life.
Yes, and so when we're talking about these kinds of chronic conditions, they're terminal, they're progressive and terminal, and so you don't know how fast they're going to progress, and you don't know when that terminal time is going to happen, but what you know is that the clock just keeps ticking and your role keeps changing as the needs keep changing.
We are going to let the people who we've connected with over the past few weeks really lead this conversation from here on out. And one of the things that we got a lot of questions from individuals saying that as a caregiver, they really struggle to access or even learn about available resources. So I know that that's something all three of you do, but when somebody is new to this, I would love for you to help me sort of walk through the process of, like, where do you find the resources? Where do you access the information that you need? And Michael, I'll let you start this. Obviously, the AARP is a good place to go, but I think it is an overwhelming time, and you think, I don't even know what I need to know.
Yeah, and I think the first thing that I know I had troubles with, and we talked to a number of people that do, is just asking for help becomes that first hurdle. Sometimes I think we feel like we need something, we know we need help, but it's verbally asking for help. So we all talked about places to go. One of the things that AARP and the United Way are rolling out in the next month or so is the 211. 211 is a phone number you could call if you don't know where to turn, and they are trained for resources here in Iowa. A lot of times that may be your area agency on aging or a AAA. It's a resource that coming into the AARP, that was a learning curve for me. But learning about what the AAAs provide in all corners of our state and all corners of our country really has been an important resource for hundreds, if not thousands of people every year. But there again, from an AARP perspective, if you Google AARP, Iowa Caregivers, that is a hub that's going to come up. That will be a really important turning point for at least some initial places to go, knowing that, just like you've already heard on this couch, you're going to talk to Jen, and Jen is going to send you to AARP or Kathy, and that's one of the really cool intertwining resources of support that we have here in Iowa.
And I'm going to let both of you weigh in on this as well, but I also want to say, having used a lot of these resources myself, sometimes you don't get quite what you're looking for. Right. And so because there are so many caregivers in Iowa, we have an aging population, there are so many people who need help. Sometimes, especially these area agencies on aging, they cover a lot of counties. So if you run into a roadblock, you've got to keep looking and keep asking, right?
Unfortunately, that's the reality for so many medical journeys.
Right.
It's not just about the first answer. It's about making sure that you're advocating for yourself and advocating in the caregiving conversation for the group of people that you're with. So,
Jennifer?
We refer to trying on resources like trying on shoes. You may pull 5 pairs off, and the first 3 are horrible. The next pair you could probably get away with, and then you find the right resource. The problem with doing that when you're a caregiver is that exhaustion level, and you've got to keep going and keep going and keep going, and that can be really frustrating. Again, coming back to our adult child caregiver group and this common question of, I just don't even know where to start. We developed what we call the first 5. We sat down as a group, our team, and said, okay, where are the first 5 places every individual should be able to reach out to get some kind of starting point? And I want to say that again, a starting point. It may not be, the crystal ball answer that's perfect, but it's a starting point. And of course, you should be able to call your provider, right? Mm-hmm. Or the provider of your care, of the person for whom you're providing care. Now, I'm going to put a caveat on that and say they may not know. But if we are going to start the conversation about caregiving and really start advocating for caregiving, all of us in this room, everybody who is watching us on Zoom tonight, we are the ones who are going to change that conversation. We're going to have to educate the medical community, I think. That's my personal opinion. So start there, because what that does, it should flag either your doctor should ask you a question the next time you see them, or that person for whom you're providing care. There should be that note, oh, by the way, Jen called and said, I need a resource for. It's a start. Please reach out to the Csomay Center. We also know geographic boundaries. We will do our best to connect you. The AAAs, all 99 counties are covered, and they're going to know someone in your county who can help. AARP, the AAAs. There's also a website called Iowa Compass. And this is run out of our Centers for Disease and Disability at the University of Iowa. You can go in and filter by your age, your location, your need, your zip code. And again, it serves as a starting point. And this is one of the resources that we felt was really important to give tonight. So that's available.
And I'm going to mention this too, because I'm Gen X. Our first impulse is to go to the internet. I ran into so many roadblocks, so many websites that I thought should tell me everything and didn't tell me everything. So sometimes you have to overcome your avoidance of the phone and make a phone call as well, because there are knowledgeable people like these people here who will tell you where you should go.
Email also works.
Okay. Kathy, what do you want to add to that?
What I wanted to add was the reason that the Family Caregiver Center of Mercy got started was because when I was by the time Dave was diagnosed, I'd been a social worker in the community for decades. And so I was able to figure out what our needs were, and I was able to figure out like where could you go and get there and fill out the paperwork and run I put together a committee. So when Tim Charles, who was then the president and CEO of Mercy Medical Center, was interested in the thought about the possibility of creating a family caregiver center, and he said, was I interested? It was like, bingo, because there was the answer to the question that I had, like, how do regular people who don't have decades of social work experience possibly figure this out? Because it's complex. And then ongoingly, not only figure out initially what you need, but ongoingly. And so one of the things then that we quickly did was to create an opportunity for any caregiver, it doesn't matter where they receive their medical care at all, to have access to our trained staff and volunteers to have one-on-one visits so that your particular needs can be identified and we can do the best we can of, again, and I like what you're saying, Jennifer, start, okay, because you have to start someplace, and so to get you started and then, continue to provide you emotional support, because that's so important, as well as the connection to resources.
And we're going to talk more about some of the resources that we need to access right away in a moment, but I want to read a couple of questions that are really specific about situations, although every caregiving journey is different, but they may rhyme. This one says, I am the sole caregiver for my husband with no other support. I'd like to come up with a plan that he can follow to get the daily care he'll need on such short notice. Do you have suggestions as to what should be included and resources that may be available? So that's another getting started question. Who wants to tackle that? Kathy?
Well, when I think about that, we have something called activities of daily living, which include, dressing and feeding and toileting and all of those sort of things. And so what first comes to my head is somebody that could help that person and the caregiver do an assessment about what are the needs. And then I think in our communities, I think that a primary care physician could refer you to an occupational therapist who could do that, but we also have all kinds of organizations, home health, non-medical in-home care providers who have trained aides who could come in and help do that assessment. And then if the person wasn't able to even with a routine or some assistance, assist the person in getting that done. So those are the top of my head thoughts in terms of how that could be handled.
All right. Does anybody want to add something?
Yeah, AARP actually has a resource called Care Connect. And Care Connect is, I'm a checklist guy, and it is a list of templates and checklists on how to organize tasks from a day-to-day perspective. Starts to look at kind of the web of what your doctor team, your medical team may be, and start to organize that in one place. So it really becomes a resource to help organize those thoughts and to directly answer that question. It's not going to be, the silver bullet, but it may be a tool to at least, there again, get started in an organized way.
Right, and to help you start to understand the questions you need to be asking. Here's another question. As an adult child of aging parents, one with dementia and the other as the at-home caregiver, both in their mid-80s, we want to support our parents, but they are stubborn Iowans who insist on continuing to live in their home in rural Iowa with over an acre to maintain. What services are available and how do we best steer them towards support? I want to focus on that last part of the question. And Jennifer, maybe we start with you because this is not an easy answer. It's a very real problem. And we know that the adults that we are caring for have been independent adults for a long time. They have their dignity. Sometimes, and Kathy, I know you and I have talked about this. For example, my mom has Alzheimer's, but she also has anosognosia, which means that she doesn't know that she has Alzheimer's. And so suggesting to her that she has Alzheimer's creates an emotional eruption that can derail an entire afternoon. You have to wait till she falls asleep and then we can reset, you know. So when someone needs help but doesn't want us to help them or isn't willing to admit that they need help, what are some of the things that we can do to work within that system?
The three of us actually were kind of talking about these situations, and it's not just stubborn Iowans because my parents live in Illinois, apparently. The Mississippi does not stop the stubbornness at all, trust me. I think you made a really good point, and I do want to touch on this, Charity, is that, you know, these older adults who are in our lives, regardless if they're your parent or Aunt Sally or whomever it might be, they are adults who have had this long life and who do deserve the care they want the way they want, right? And it's difficult when we can kind of, you know, those of us who are removed a little bit from that situation can see the situation is not good and that they need help. And I'm just going to share personally that one of the things that worked in my favor with my parents, again, they lived in the middle of nowhere. They had to go stand in the bathtub on the northwest corner of their house to get the best cell phone reception. They lived in a rural area where there weren't many resources. Coming back to them and saying, this is a safety issue. They didn't want to give up living where they lived. This was their dream home. So I think, can you muster up the courage as an adult child to sit down and look at your parents and say, I'm not comfortable, this scares me, I'm afraid one of you will get hurt, and ask the question, and this is important, what happens when you fall? What happens when something happens? Not if, because it will be when. And then the hardest thing for us to do as human beings is to provide quiet space where they actually have to think about that answer and provide an answer. And it may not be the answer that we want. It's a starting point to say, can you compromise with me? Can we call home health? Can we call someone who will do an assessment? I had written that on the other question too. There are so many good people who can come in and help you with that at-home assessment. They can be the third party removed. They're not the child. And help you navigate how that conversation needs to start. You are not going to win all of these issues in this question. It's a complex question in one fell swoop. Bite-sized pieces, I think, are really important. What can that win be? For my parents, it was giving up the mowing. Mowing in Iowa and in Illinois and in rural areas is a real thing, and nobody wants to give up the mowing. And my dad still could, but it meant he was out for hours on a tractor on hills, and he was exhausted from caregiving. So it was a matter of, could we call someone, see if we can get on their schedule for a month? Can we try it for 1 month? My dad never had to get back on that mower. And to me, that was the biggest win. And so what are those little bite-sized pieces, the one little thing you think you can have that conversation about and hopefully make progress? And understand that it may not be the answer you want, but if it's a win in the right direction, that we can get a set of other eyes into the situation, that we can call home health care, or that we could have someone come in and even do cleaning, or maybe it's a meal delivery a couple of times a week. Count those as a win.
Well, and I think too that What you have to do is to engage with them and to say, what if something happens to one of you? What's the other one of you going to do? And while you're both healthy, let's explore resources so that then you have some input into what you might want to choose when, we were talking earlier about when, probably not if, but when something happens, you're better prepared. And so I think that trying to work with somebody, not really telling them what they need to do. And sometimes it works to say, you've given me gifts, all my life, and this is a gift. I wonder if you could give me a gift of us working together to figure out some resources in the event that you should happen to need them.
Well, and Jennifer, you and I were talking about this. I mean, we've been parents, and when our kids were little, we connected with other parents who, when my kid would not put on his coat to save his life, I had a friend who said, oh, we stopped calling it a coat, we call it a cozy. Or we let him go outside and he gets cold and then they'll give you an idea. And I'm not comparing the people that we are caring for to children, but I am saying that kind of caregiver ingenuity exists at this level as well. And so those support groups are not just for emotional support, but maybe for an idea, right, of how to buy something.
I think all three of us would agree that informal networks may be the strongest network you can participate in, whether it is an adult child caregiver, or you're in one of Kathy's groups, or you're working with a group from AARP, whomever that is. I think you would be surprised if you were to ask at your book club, if you were to ask at church, if you were to ask at the end of yoga class, by the way, I'm in this really weird situation. Can I just throw this question out? So many people are caregiving, and we just don't talk about it. And this is what we have to do, is talk about it and ask.
I agree 110% is just getting beyond the stigma I think some of us have of not wanting to say out loud that we're a caregiver. But the moment that I started saying that proudly, you find everyone on your street. I mean, it's what Ms. Carter said there, is there's 4 types of people, and we all fall into those categories.
Right. Well, and I think it's so interesting because we have an expectation in this culture that, of course, if you have children, you should have help. Okay, but we don't think that so much about, if you've got elderly parents, or you have a spousal situation, that somebody that has a chronic condition, we don't feel as entitled as we do to think about that we need help with children. Sometimes we say it takes a village to raise a child. I think it takes a village to be a caregiver and to deal with somebody that is dealing with a chronic condition.
It's also a journey. The person you're caring for is going to change over time too. So, for example, I don't have the same barriers as my mom has progressed. She still doesn't know that she has Alzheimer's, but she will accept help in some different ways. My dad, not so accepting of help. He can do it all. But
I just like to step back to the rural setting with the home that they probably lived in for a number of years. All of what Jen said is absolutely accurate. And one of the tools that AARP does have that they can use and we could all use in our homes is called the Home Fit Guide. So it is a very visual guide that goes through every room in a home and talks about ways that we can retrofit the home for aging in place to make it a more safe environment. So there could be some of that process that just helps their parents in this situation understand, okay, there are very incremental baby step things that we could do, but they start to understand maybe I do need a little bit more help than what I thought I did.
I want to talk specifically about some of the legal provisions that we need as caregivers. And some people, have put their will in place. They know where all their finances are, and they have it in a neat document. And a lot of people don't have that.
I think 60 or 65% of the population does not have a will. It's huge. It's a huge percentage.
All right, because they're immortal. Right? So, but even beyond the will, we need power of attorney, power of medical attorney. Who wants to sort of talk us through that list of things that we really need to get squared away at the beginning of a caregiving journey?
Well, I think that one of the things that you also need as a caregiver is a contingency plan. So what is going to happen if something happens to you, okay? And so from day one at the Family Caregivers Center, we've tried to say to people, we have a comprehensive guide for caregivers that takes you through powers of attorney and takes you through wills and trusts and helps you understand the legal and the medical aspects of this, but then it's also about writing down and describing who is your person, okay, that you're caring for and what's important to them. And so if something happens to me as that caregiver, what does somebody need to know so that they can care for the person that I'm caring for? So that's a huge thing that I think, and we don't think about it.
Right.
Okay.
Also advanced directives.
Also advanced directives, yes. Mm-hmm.
And you know, I'm going to throw out usernames and passwords.
Right.
It's a conversation. You know, I think one of the neat things that's happened in our situation, because Mom's been in a nursing home for 4 years, is that my relationship with Dad has gotten so much closer. And we are able to talk about, if you'd asked me 30 years ago if we would have had these conversations, I would have said, oh, heck no. But we do now, and we try to do it with humor, and we try to do it with levity. But I read an article last fall about a lovely young woman and her mom. Her mom had gone into hospice care, and she's like, we talked about everything. We were so prepared. And the one thing they forgot was the Apple ID. And it took months and thousands of dollars for the daughter to gain access to that Apple ID. So I think there are those everyday things also that we don't think about. The banking. Are you a signature on the bank account? Do you know what's automatically deducted for bills? Those things that when something happens and you're in an emotional state, it's really hard to kind of be reasonable and logical and have this ready to go. So you have to plan. I would think that's, you and I talked about that, Charity. We need to plan, and we need to plan.
Well, and let's just briefly take that caveat. Okay, every single one of us who is a caregiver watches what is happening with the people that we care for. And then I know I've done this at least 100 times, I have promised myself that I will do it better and make it easier for my kids when I am inevitably in need of care. We are all going to need caregivers. So briefly, what are some of the things that those of us who are not there yet should do now so that when people are caring for us, things go a little better?
Plan.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, plan. Yeah.
So you can tell someone at my age by saying, write it down, okay?
Yes.
You know, write it down on a piece of paper.
Yeah, but the
or
more
put it
stressed
into
we get, it doesn't matter how old we are, we
No.
forget stuff. Yeah.
Exactly.
down.
So write it down. And so even as simple things like, so if I'm in the process of dying, who do I want around me, and who, for heaven's sakes, do I not want around me? I mean, yeah.
That's so fair.
Because sometimes, right, and so even those kinds of details, but I think going back to the basics, it is sort of about figuring out like what is important to you so that your kids know. One of the things that I failed to ask Dave when he was in a situation that he could have given me some feedback, but we knew that we were going to be cremated. We knew that we had both deeded our bodies to the University of Iowa. It never occurred to me to say, and where do you want your ashes? Okay, you know, so if you want to be cremated, if you want a regular funeral, what do you want? You know, the more of that you can communicate, and where do you want, if you're going to be cremated, where do you want your ashes, other than on the edge of our spa tub, where they currently still exist, right?
Well, and I could relate totally to this as my parents were starting their journey. My parents were strong enough to look at us kids and say, we need to think about what a power of attorney means. And so having that POA is something that we had many years ago, and we didn't use it for many, many years. And when we needed it, it was absolutely necessary. And if we would have had to go back and do a power of attorney with their health issues as they start to advance, or worse yet, go to a guardianship, I mean, you're thinking now thousands of dollars with attorney fees or court time or different things along those lines to go through it. So part of it is just the added stress that it has. The other side comes to, and in full disclosure, I grew up in a funeral home family, so prearrangements and those types of things are things that we've talked about around the kitchen table as kids growing up. But it's the reality of, as humans, as Americans, whatever it may be, we don't really like to talk about death. It's something that it scares us. It's something that we just want to avoid. But the reality is if you don't already have those things in place, it's a conversation with families. And I know in our situation, sometimes it sounds terrible. It's just hard to find things to talk about. And so talking about some of those plans, and it doesn't have to get too morbid, but it does have to get to Kathy's point of thinking about how do we celebrate your life? What is the legacy? What are the breadcrumbs that we could leave for our kids? But what are the breadcrumbs that we're leaving in our communities?
Well, and sometimes I think.
It wasn't raining when Noah built the ark.
She, just for you
Yeah.
who are on the stream, she said, plan ahead. It wasn't raining when Noah built the ark. So,
Well, and I think sometimes when parents are resistive to getting powers of attorney in place, I think you can say, let's all do it together. So, because we all need powers of attorney and advance directives, and so sometimes you can do it as, with your parents.
And to that point of building a family relationship with an attorney is a good thing, and knowing that our parents' attorney in that firm became my family attorney, my personal family attorney, became a really good relationship to build, because as my parents advance, that attorney is already in our circle of trust. We're not trying to build that trust afterwards.
And I just want to say, too, if you are the caregiver and you need to take care of your own, and you do need to take care of yourself, caring for the caregiver is really important. So make sure you do, I know you're chuckling, I know, it's so hard. When you're doing those, if you're an older adult, your parents, whomever it is for, you're providing care for, if they're resistant, can you use that as a conversation starter? I think that's kind of the ingenuity of being a caregiver is, well, we didn't respond to this angle of conversation, so let me come in the side door or the back door or the window. And so if it's, oh, you know what, I'm working on my will and my powers of attorney, and I just want, I want the people who are going to wind up being my caregiver to be prepared, and I want them to know. And what do you think about that? And trying to use those for conversation starters.
and Michael, you already brought this up, but in taking a look at, is your home fit for someone to age? We all want to age in place. At least most of us want to age in place. So looking at universal design in our own homes is also a great plan. All right, let's move on. There's so many big questions. Caregivers often report feeling unseen or undervalued. How do you think we can shift the culture so caregivers are considered to be essential partners in care? Or how do you personally shift your own thinking? Because some of us think, oh, I'm not really the caregiver. What do you guys think?
I think it's starting the conversation like we're doing tonight. I think watching those documentaries and knowing that you have someone with Bradley Cooper's platform and ability to reach so many people was willing to do this. I think there will be more of this, and I think your conversation, with Kathy and sharing about her, I just think that is how it's going to start. And we're changing. This is it. We are changing the conversation now. Traditionalists, the older baby boomers, which are my parents, this wasn't a conversation. Society's changed. So there was somebody typically within that family unit who did provide the care. So now, like Michael said, to say out loud, okay, I am a caregiver. And then you all of a sudden find out everybody on your block has been in a similar situation. That's what it's going to take. And I think just making it a common conversation is what we are charged with doing, and everyone who's involved with this evening, will change the conversation for the next generations.
Well, and I think that AARP says there are 330,000 caregivers in Iowa. So it's about recognizing that we do exist, okay? And AARP has been at this a long time, trying to say caregivers are out there, they need support. And so, there are 66,000 Iowans living with dementia in Iowa, and they all have at least one caregiver, and probably they have a primary and a secondary, as you might be labeled
Right.
charity. And so there's a lot of caregiving going on, and just to acknowledge that that does exist. But it is sort of hard sometimes for caregivers to understand that they are a caregiver, because they just think they're a son or a daughter or a spouse, and that's what they do. But more programs like this will help us.
Well, and to jump on Kathy's point, there's AARP estimates 330,000 unpaid family caregivers in the state of Iowa, and that doesn't count the industry of caregivers that exist. And our friends from the Iowa Caregivers Association are here that provide a voice to that direct care worker as well, which is an integral part of, I think, all of our stories as well.
Yes.
This person says, I'm struggling mentally as a caregiver. Is there a community organization or local program that can help support me socially? I haven't found the right fit. And again, I mean, it depends on what community you're in. You can try out Kathy's Zoom meetings,
Yes.
right?
Yes, or our one-on-one meetings, yes. Mhm.
But that kind of social support, whether it's a support group or something else, that is a really important, and I'm just gonna say that I struggle with this because I'm too busy. I'm too busy to get support, which I know a lot of caregivers do struggle with that. But I'd love to hear from each of you why we need to take care of ourselves and connect with others, and how to do it.
Do you want to start?
Let's
Do you notice how
see.
Michael did? Do you like Michael just sat back on that? No,
I didn't even raise my microphone that time.
Well, I think that, as you said, sometimes you feel like you're too busy. One of the things that we launched last October was our Family Caregiver Center online community. And so I think that you could be talking to somebody at midnight because they might also be up on our online community. And so I think that there are some resources that can make your connection with other caregivers, so it normalizes sort of what is happening to you, and maybe that's a way of making it more available if you're not zooming into one of our support groups that's at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I think there are other probably resources that might be online, but we started the online community so that caregivers could interact with each other and learn from each other, as we talked about earlier, because some caregivers have figured out something that might just work for you. And so you can pose questions and also give answers on our online community.
I saw a great quote the other day from somebody who'd found a caregiver support group, and they said, well, we're not all in this together, but at least I know now that we're all in our leaky boats on the same ocean.
Excellent. Well, if my wife were here, she would be the one that constantly reminds me that I don't always do as I say. And because caring for us as caregivers is so important, and I'm just as bad as all of us, whether it's too busy or I just get involved in other things and you don't think about how I'm caring for myself, of even stopping, slowing down, taking a breath, riding a bike, doing whatever I do to chill out. So it's one of those things where having that accountability partner, in my case, it's Claire. Others may be someone else, just to remind you to take a step back, and even if it is just to say, I'm gonna watch that TV show that I never get a chance to watch, and have that be my own time from that side of things.
Our adult child caregiver group probably is 90% full-time working individuals. And so it's a really quiet, I refer to them kind of as a quiet group. I send out information as it comes into the Csomay Center. We do our caregiver groups are via Zoom also, because it's just hard to get together. We do make an effort at the beginning and end. We kind of roll with the academic year to do something informally and fun and get together and just share stories and conversation. And sometimes it's not even about caregiving. But if we aren't taking care of ourselves as caregivers, we aren't able to give the best care. And that seems, it's such a simple phrase, and it's really difficult to do. We have a lovely individual in our Iowa City area who is helping families. This is what she's given her life to do, is to come in and help people do assessments and to have hard conversations and to walk through the legalese paperwork and to share resources. And she looked at me one day, I had said something about visiting my mom, And, I felt guilty for not being able to stay for hours. And she said, Jen, can your mom, does she interact with you for hours? And I said, no. And she said, what's a good time for her? And I said, well, some days if mom is really clear, we get a really great half an hour. And then she said, then be okay with that half an hour. Life altering for someone with her experience and wisdom to say that to me and kind of give me the freedom to not have the caregiver guilt, because that's also something we haven't mentioned tonight. And I do think it's a real thing.
Well, and on top of everything that was mentioned too is social isolation is an important part of all of our lives, and it's an important challenge that we need to address in the 50+ community. But I think it doubles down when it's a caregiver who feels like they're caring for kids and caring for families and caring for their work and whatever that may be. And then when they have time, they're by themselves. So sometimes the support group doesn't have to say caregiving in the name. It could be a church group, it could be a poker club, it could be the golf group, but just finding your community of people could be just as important as finding a named social group. So,
All right, I'm going to ask I have a great final question, but I have to ask this question first. And you've already talked about it, Michael. I mean, caregiving is an unpaid thing for most family caregivers, at least. It's something, it's a huge amount of time, it's a huge amount of energy, it's a huge amount of love, but also it's expensive to be a caregiver. And the financial strain in our culture with our healthcare system that caregiving puts on families is enormous. And I know that AARP does advocacy work. What are you working for? What are you advocating for? What potentially could we see that might help caregivers?
Yeah, so as AARP focuses our legislative advocacy work and on family caregivers as one of those key elements, when we talk to family caregivers across the state and across the nation, we talk about resources, we talk about respite, we talk about a lot of those pieces, but the financial strain always becomes one of the key challenges that we're focused on. So nationally, AARP is working with a bipartisan coalition of legislators, including Representative Nunn from District 3 here in Iowa, on a credit for caring, which would be a national, a federal a tax credit for caregivers, knowing that on average a caregiver expends about $7,200 every year out of pocket, which becomes not only a strain on their pocketbook, but what that means as it relates to the strain on being able to continue to work full time and knowing that it continues to compound. Here in the state, at our state house, we continue to put family caregiving on the tops of people's minds. As we all know from an advocacy perspective, just because a topic is on the top of someone's mind doesn't mean that action has been taken or maybe will be taken. But AARP Iowa, from a mission perspective, is focused on replicating that tax credit here in the state of Iowa for an Iowa tax credit for unpaid family caregivers, but also looking at a policy that's currently going on as it relates to work requirements. And there are a number of exemptions from the work requirements journey that we're all going to be going down. And family caregivers was something that we advocated to make sure that that was one of the exempted classes, knowing that work requirements and family caregiving can align, but we have to be thoughtful about that, what that looks like. Our paid family leave and looking what that means for businesses and corporations, but also here in Iowa, state employees. That was something that was passed, was paid family leave for state employees, but family caregiving was not an eligible opportunity in that piece. So what AARP Iowa is really, truly trying to do is make sure that family caregiving is a topic of conversation that is repeated over and over again. Because as we talked about, it's self-identifying, it's all of those pieces, but like so many invisible populations, visibility and awareness becomes one of the strongest ways that we could continue to advocate for ourselves.
Okay, we are out of time, but I want to ask this final question, and this is from one of our viewers. From the perspective of the caregivers on the panel, what is one thing you've done that helped make caregiving a little easier or more manageable for you or your loved one? Just one thing.
Going back to the bite-sized pieces, that's worked really well for us. So I talk to my dad every week on the phone, and I see them every couple of weeks, and we try to just choose one little thing each time we're together to talk about. Are your usernames and passwords up to date? Whatever it might be. Did you change a bank or whatever it might be?
Can I
Just
clean one cupboard?
Right, just one little bite-sized piece of information that we together can tackle. Sometimes it leads to more, and sometimes that's the total win for the day or for the weekend, and that's okay.
For me, it was, and it was highlighted in one of the clips of, I think it was the husband that was caring for his wife, and he made that comment of he just wants to get back to at least partially having the role of the husband. For me and my parents, I felt like that caregiver all the time. So for the one thing that I do is just try to find joy in the time that I have. So it's just kind of stepping back and really recognizing that. And for us, the way that we can consistently do it is my parents still get their weekly paper from their hometown. And every Thursday when it comes in the mail to my house, I take it up to their house and we read the paper and read about, everything from who got arrested to what the obituaries look like to how the local football team is doing. And it's those types of things that spark just a little bit of joy that don't require the challenge of eating or the fact that the TV never works or whatever it may be. So that little spark of joy is something that I spend a lot of time trying to do.
I take my mom out for chai tea, which she's never had before, and it is a revelation every time. She loves it. And we'll have it for the first time again this coming Sunday. So, Kathy?
I think that the one thing that we decided, Dave and I together right after his diagnosis, was that we didn't have any control over the fact that he was diagnosed with dementia, but we did have control over how we decided to deal with it. And so we decided that we would focus on all of the things that still worked, because there were a ton of things that still worked, and we would accommodate to things that didn't work, not to deny that there were things that didn't work, but to try and then figure out creatively how could we accommodate to those things so that they too continued to work.
Thank you all so much for being part of this conversation tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charity.
And thank you all so much for being here. And also thank you to everybody here at Iowa PBS. As you know, we've done a caregiving special on Iowa Life that will air on June 24th at 6:30 p.m. And then that national caregiving special will air at 8 o'clock Central Time that same night. And I'm going to make Teresa Knight and Emily Kestel stand up and wave because they produce Iowa Life. You already met Andrew Bott and Caroline Clark put together this program tonight. And there are so many people who work here at Iowa PBS. You get to see what's on television, but remember that it takes a village to make public media as well. But thank you again so much for being here.